I proposed to her best friend in front of everyone. And the look on Mia's face, God, I'll never forget it. Not the shock. Not the disbelief. It was the way her mouth opened just slightly, like she wanted to say something but couldn't find the air. Like I'd reached into her chest and pulled something vital out. She called me broke 2 hours earlier. In front of her entire birthday party. In front of people I didn't know. In front of people I thought were becoming our friends. Daniel works at a coffee shop, she'd said, laughing, her champagne glass catching the light. He's figuring things out. The room had gone quiet. Then someone laughed. Then everyone did. I stood there holding a gift I'd saved 3 months to buy her, a first edition book she'd wanted since college. I felt my hands go cold. But it wasn't the humiliation that broke me. It was the way she looked at me after. Like I was supposed to smile. Like I was supposed to take the joke. Like being poor was something I'd done to her. So when her best friend Isabel found me on the balcony an hour later, and we started talking, really talking, I made a choice. I wasn't going to disappear quietly. I was going to make sure Mia understood exactly what she'd lost. And I was going to do it in front of everyone. I didn't want to go to Mia's birthday party. Not because I didn't love her, I did, painfully, the kind of love that makes you ignore red flags because you're too busy painting them gold in your mind. The kind that convinces you that this time will be different, that this time she'll see you the way you see her. But I knew what kind of party it would be. Expensive. Exclusive. Full of people who measured worth in job titles and vacation homes and the kind of watches that cost more than my rent. I worked at a coffee shop. I was a writer. Unpublished. Underpaid. Under everything she wanted me to be. I'd known that for a while. I just kept pretending I didn't. That morning, she'd kissed my forehead while I was still half asleep, her hair smelling like vanilla and something floral I couldn't name. She'd smiled at me, the soft smile, the one she saved for quiet moments, and said, I want you there tonight. I want everyone to meet you. And like an idiot, I believed her. So I went. I wore the one button-down I owned that didn't have a coffee stain or a frayed collar. I'd ironed it twice. I even bought new socks, which felt ridiculous, but I wanted to feel like I belonged for once. I brought the book. The one I'd been saving for. A first edition of her favorite novel, the one she'd mentioned once, months ago, in passing. I'd put aside money for 3 months. Skipped meals. Walked to work instead of taking the bus. I wrapped it in brown paper because I couldn't afford the fancy stuff. But I tied it with twine and tucked a handwritten note inside, and I told myself that it was the thought that counted. God, I was naive. The penthouse was everything I expected and nothing I was prepared for. Crystal chandeliers. String lights that looked like stars. A view of the city that stretched out endlessly, glittering and cold. People in designer clothes holding champagne flutes, laughing in that easy, careless way that people with money always do. I felt like I'd walked onto a movie set. Mia stood in the center of it all, glowing in a white dress that clung to her like it had been sewn directly onto her body. Her hair was pulled back, her skin luminous under the soft lighting. She was surrounded by friends, people who touched her arm, who leaned in close, who laughed at everything she said like she was the sun and they were planets caught in her orbit. She saw me. Her eyes found mine across the room, and for a second, just a second, she smiled. Not the performative smile she gave everyone else. The real one. The one that used to make me feel like I was the only person in the world. I smiled back. And for that brief, fragile moment, I thought I belonged. I moved through the crowd carefully, holding the gift like it was something precious. People brushed past me without looking. Conversations paused when I got too close, then resumed the moment I passed. I didn't exist to them. Not yet. Mia broke away from her group and walked toward me, her heels clicking against the marble floor. She kissed my cheek, her lips cool and quick. You made it, she said. Of course, I said. I wouldn't miss it. She glanced down at the gift in my hands. What's that? Your present, I said. I know it's not much, but... You didn't have to get me anything, she said, already looking past me, scanning the room. Just being here is enough. It didn't feel like enough. She took the gift and set it on a table near the door, barely glancing at it. Then she was gone, pulled back into the crowd by someone calling her name. I stood there, alone, holding a glass of champagne I didn't want. The night blurred after that. I tried to talk to people. I smiled when they asked what I did. I laughed at jokes I didn't find funny. I stood in corners and watched Mia move through the room like she owned it, which, technically, she did. And the whole time, I felt like I was disappearing. Like I was a ghost at my own girlfriend's party. I thought about leaving. I thought about slipping out the door and texting her some excuse later. But every time I got close to the exit, I'd catch a glimpse of her laughing, or smiling, or looking so happy, and I'd convince myself to stay. Because I loved her. And love, I'd learned, is just another word for endurance. Around 10, someone turned up the music. People started dancing. Mia pulled me onto the floor, her hands light on my shoulders, her body close but not quite touching. "Are you having fun?" she asked. "Yeah," I lied. She looked at me for a long moment, like she was trying to decide if I was telling the truth. Then she kissed me, soft and quick, and whispered, "Thank you for being here." And for a second, I believed that everything was fine. That we were fine. But deep down, in the part of me that I'd been ignoring for months, I knew the truth. I didn't belong here. I never had. And the worst part? Mia knew it too. It started during the toast. I should have seen it coming. I should have known that a room full of people like this, people who traded barbs like currency, who made cruelty look like charm, wouldn't let the night end without someone becoming the punchline. I just didn't think it would be me. Lauren was the one who started it. Mia's college friend. Blonde. Loud. The kind of person who always had a drink in her hand and an opinion no one asked for. She stood in the center of the room, raising her champagne glass high, her smile wide and sharp. "To Mia," she announced, her voice cutting through the music. "The woman who has everything except maybe a boyfriend who can actually take her somewhere nice." The room erupted in laughter. I felt my stomach drop. It wasn't just the joke. It was the way everyone responded. Like it was the funniest thing they'd ever heard. Like it was true star. I looked at Mia, waiting for her to say something. To laugh it off. To defend me. She didn't. She laughed. Not the polite, uncomfortable laugh you give when someone says something inappropriate. The real laugh. The one that came from her chest, unguarded and genuine. Her head tilted back, her hand landing on Lauren's shoulder for support, like it was the best joke she'd heard all night. My hands went cold. Someone else chimed in, some guy in a navy suit I didn't recognize. "Wait, what does he do again?" The room went quiet. Not uncomfortable. Expectant star. Mia looked right at me. Her eyes met mine across the room, and for a split second, I thought she'd stop it. I thought she'd change the subject, or redirect, or do something to protect me. She didn't. "Daniel works at a coffee shop," she said. Her tone was light. Casual. Like she was talking about the weather. Like she was commenting on a stain on the carpet. He's figuring things out. The room exploded. Laughter. Loud, sharp, unrelenting. I stood there, frozen, holding her gift like an idiot. No one looked at me. Not really. I was a punchline. A prop. The guy who didn't fit. Lauren leaned into Mia, whispering something I couldn't hear, and Mia laughed again. Softer this time. More intimate. Someone raised their glass. To figuring it out. More laughter. I wanted to leave. I wanted to throw the gift in the trash and walk out and never look back. I wanted to scream, to tell them all to go to hell, to make Mia understand what she'd just done. But I didn't. I just stood there. Because what was I supposed to do? Make a scene? Prove them right? So I smiled. I lifted my glass. I played along. And inside, something broke. The party continued around me like I didn't exist. People went back to their conversations. The music picked up again. Mia moved through the crowd, accepting congratulations and compliments, her dress catching the light every time she turned. She didn't look at me. Not once. I found a corner near the window and stayed there, nursing the same glass of champagne for the next hour. I watched her laugh. I watched her dance. I watched her be happy star. And I realized something. She wasn't embarrassed. She wasn't uncomfortable. She was relieved star. Relieved that someone had finally said it. That someone had finally acknowledged what she'd been thinking all along. That I wasn't enough. That I was a placeholder. A stopgap. The guy she kept around because it was easier than being alone, but not the guy she wanted people to see her with. I thought about all the times she'd told me she loved me. I thought about the mornings she'd kissed my forehead. The night she'd fallen asleep with her head on my chest. The promises she'd made about our future. And I wondered how many of them had been real. Or if any of them had been. Around midnight, people started leaving. Mia walked them to the door, hugging everyone, thanking them for coming. She looked radiant. Untouchable. I stayed in my corner. Eventually, she noticed me. "Daniel," she said, walking over, her smile still in place. "You okay? You've been quiet." I looked at her. Really looked at her. At the woman I'd loved for 2 years. The woman I'd rearranged my life for. The woman I'd convinced myself I couldn't live without. "I'm fine," I said. She tilted her head, studying me. "You're not mad about the toast, are you? It was just a joke." "I know," I said. "Lauren didn't mean anything by it," she said, touching my arm. "You know how she is." "I know." She waited for me to say more. When I didn't, she sighed. "Don't be like this," she said softly. "It's my birthday." And that was it. That was the moment I realized. She didn't see what she'd done. She didn't understand. And she never would. "I'm not being like anything," I said. "I'm fine." She smiled, relieved. "Good." She kissed my cheek and walked away. And I stood there, holding a gift she hadn't even opened, in a room full of people who didn't know my name. I stayed because I loved her. And that, I realize now, was the saddest part. I went outside because I couldn't breathe. The penthouse had too many people, too much noise, too much everything. The laughter felt like static in my ears. The music pulsed against my skull. Every smile felt like a blade. I slipped through the crowd unnoticed, because of course I did, and pushed open the glass door to the balcony. The cold air hit me like a slap. It was November. The kind of night where your breath turned to fog and your fingers went numb in seconds. I didn't care. I leaned against the railing, staring out at the city below, at the endless grid of lights stretching into the distance. From up here, everything looked small. Manageable. Like maybe none of it mattered. I tried to tell myself that. That the joke didn't matter. That the laughter didn't matter. That the way Mia had looked at me, or hadn't looked at me, didn't matter. But it did. God, it did. I heard the door open behind me. I didn't turn. I assumed it was someone stepping out for a cigarette, or a phone call, or a moment away from the noise. I assumed they'd ignore me, the way everyone else had all night. "You okay?" I turned. Isabel. Mia's best friend. The quiet one. The one who never said much but always seemed to be watching. She had dark hair pulled into a low bun, a simple black dress, and eyes that looked like they'd seen too much. She was holding 2 glasses of wine. She handed me one without asking if I wanted it. "I'm fine," I said. It was a lie. We both knew it. She leaned against the railing beside me, close but not touching, and stared out at the city. For a long time, neither of us said anything. The silence wasn't uncomfortable. It was the opposite, actually. It felt like relief. "She doesn't mean it," Isabel said finally. Her voice was soft. Almost hesitant. I looked at her. "What?" "Mia," she said. "She doesn't mean it. The things she says. She just gets like this around them." "Like what?" "Performative," Isabel said. She took a sip of her wine. "She's trying to impress people who don't even matter. It's exhausting to watch." I didn't know what to say to that. "She meant it," I said quietly. Isabel didn't argue. She just looked at me, her expression unreadable. "Maybe," she said. "But that doesn't make it true." I turned back to the city. It felt true. "I know." We stood there in silence again. The music from inside was muffled now, just a low hum beneath the sound of traffic and wind. "I read your story," Isabel said suddenly. I blinked. "What?" "The one you sent me last month," she said. "The short story. About the painter." I stared at her. "How did you?" "She forwarded it to me," Isabel said. She looked at me, and there was something in her eyes I couldn't name. She said she didn't have time to read it. Asked if I could give her the Cliff's Notes version. My chest tightened. "I read the whole thing," Isabel continued. "Twice, actually. It was beautiful, Daniel. Sad, but beautiful. The ending gutted me." I didn't know what to say. No one had ever said that to me before. Not even Mia. "She didn't read it?" I asked, even though I already knew the answer. Isabel shook her head. "I don't think she even opened it." Something inside me cracked. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just, quietly. Like a hairline fracture in glass. I'm sorry, Isabel said. I shouldn't have told you that. No, I said. I'm glad you did. She looked at me, and for the first time all night, I felt seen. Not pitied. Not judged. Just, seen. Do you want to talk about it? She asked. About what? Whatever's going on in your head right now. I hesitated. Then I shook my head. I don't even know where to start. Start anywhere, she said. So I did. I told her about the party. About the joke. About the way Mia had laughed like it didn't matter. About how I felt like I was disappearing, little by little, every time I was around her. Isabel listened. She didn't interrupt. She didn't try to fix it. She just listened. And when I was done, she said, "You deserve better than that." It was such a simple sentence. But it shattered something inside me. Because no one had ever said that to me before. Not even myself. She loves me, I said, like I was trying to convince her. Or maybe myself. Isabel looked at me, her expression soft but firm. Maybe. But love isn't supposed to make you feel small, Daniel. I didn't have a response to that. We stood there for a while longer, not talking, just existing in the same space. The cold didn't bother me anymore. Neither did the noise from inside. For the first time all night, I felt like I could breathe. Thank you, I said finally. For what? For this, I said. For? I don't know. Treating me like I matter. Isabel smiled. It was a sad smile. The kind that understood too much. You do matter, she said. And I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to. Eventually, we went back inside. The party was winding down. People were saying their goodbyes, gathering coats, calling cars. Mia found me near the door. She looked tired but happy, her cheeks flushed from champagne and attention. There you are, she said, looping her arm through mine. I thought you'd left. No, I said. I'm still here. She smiled. Good. She didn't ask where I'd been. She didn't ask if I was okay. She just pulled me close and said, "Thank you for coming tonight." It meant a lot. And I realized something. It didn't mean anything to her. Not really. I was just another guest. Another box checked. Another person who showed up because she asked. But Isabel? She'd seen me. And that difference? It changed everything. I didn't plan to fall for Isabel. I need you to understand that. This wasn't some calculated move, some revenge plot I'd been nursing in the dark corners of my mind. I wasn't looking for an escape route or a rebound or a way to hurt Mia back. It just happened. Slowly. Quietly. Like snow accumulating on a windowsill. The weeks after Mia's party blurred together in a strange, uncomfortable haze. She and I were still together, technically. But it felt like we were living in parallel dimensions, orbiting the same space but never quite touching. She was always busy. Always somewhere else. Always on her phone, texting people I didn't know, making plans I wasn't invited to. And I told myself it was fine. That relationships went through phases. That we'd find our way back to each other eventually. But deep down, I knew. We were already over. We just hadn't said it out loud yet. Isabel started texting me a few days after the party. Nothing heavy. Nothing inappropriate. Just small things. A book recommendation. A meme about writers. How are you holding up? At first, I didn't think much of it. She was Mia's best friend. She was probably just being nice. But then we met for coffee. It was her idea. She texted me on a Thursday afternoon, *, I'm near your cafe. Want to grab a drink after your shift? *. I said yes. We sat in a corner booth at a place down the street, the kind of spot with mismatched chairs and chipped mugs and baristas who knew your order by heart. Isabel ordered black coffee. I got my usual, too much cream, too much sugar. She smiled when she saw it. You drink coffee like a child. I work at a coffee shop, I said. I've earned the right to bastardize it however I want. She laughed. A real laugh. The kind that crinkled her eyes. We talked for 2 hours. About books. About art. About what it felt like to be invisible in rooms full of people who only saw surfaces. She told me about her job, something corporate and soul-crushing that paid well but left her feeling hollow. She told me about her family, about growing up in a house where love was conditional and success was the only currency that mattered. She didn't try to impress me. She didn't perform. She was just her star. And I realized how rare that was. After that, we started meeting more often. Coffee turned into lunch. Lunch turned into dinner. Dinner turned into long walks through the city, talking about everything and nothing, watching the sun set behind buildings that looked like they were made of fire. I told her about my writing. About the novel I'd been working on for 3 years, the one that never felt finished, the one I was terrified to show anyone because it felt too personal, too raw. She asked to read it. Not in the polite, dismissive way Mia used to. But like she actually wanted to. So I sent her the first 50 pages. She read them that night. The next morning, my phone buzzed with a text, Daniel. This is incredible. Why aren't you published yet? I stared at the message for a long time. No one had ever said that to me before. Not my professors. Not my friends. Not Mia. Mia had skimmed the first chapter once, 2 years ago, and said, "It's nice. Kind of sad, though. Why do you always write sad things?" She never asked to read more. But Isabel? She read every word. She highlighted passages. She argued with my characters. She sent me voice memos at midnight, talking through plot holes and emotional beats and why a certain line didn't work. She cared star. And somewhere in the middle of all that, I started to realize something. I was falling for her. Not because she was beautiful, though she was. Not because she was kind, though she was that, too. But because she made me feel like I mattered star. Like my words mattered. Like my thoughts mattered. Like I wasn't just a placeholder in someone else's life. Mia had never made me feel that way. Not once. With Mia, I was always trying to be enough star. Enough for her friends. Enough for her family. Enough for the version of me she wanted me to become. But with Isabel? I was already enough. Exactly as I was. And that terrified me. Because I was still with Mia. And Isabel was her best friend. One night, we were sitting in Isabel's car outside a bookstore, rain drumming against the windshield. We'd just spent 3 hours browsing shelves, pulling books off at random, reading passages aloud to each other. It was the kind of night that felt suspended in time. Like the rest of the world didn't exist. Isabel was flipping through a collection of poetry, her finger tracing the lines. "Listen to this," she said, and read aloud, "I loved you first, but afterwards your love, outsoaring mine, sang such a loftier song, " She paused. Looked at me. "Do you think that's true?" she asked. "That one person always loves more?" I thought about Mia. About all the ways I'd bent myself into shapes I didn't recognize, trying to be what she needed. "Yeah," I said quietly. "I think it is." Isabel closed the book. "That's heartbreaking." "It is," I agreed. She looked at me for a long moment, her expression unreadable. "Mia doesn't deserve you," she said. The words hung in the air between us, heavy and electric. "Isabel. I'm serious," she said. "You're brilliant, Daniel. You're kind. You see the world in ways most people don't. And she treats you like you're disposable." I didn't know what to say. "I shouldn't have said that," she whispered. "I'm sorry. She's my best friend. I shouldn't." "You're right," I said. She looked at me, surprised. "You're right," I repeated. "She does treat me like that." And I let her. Because I thought? I don't know. I thought if I loved her enough, she'd eventually love me back the same way. And now? I looked at Isabel. At this woman who'd seen me at my lowest and never looked away. "Now I don't know what I'm doing," I said honestly. She reached over and took my hand. Her fingers were warm. "Steady. You're figuring it out," she said softly. "That's all any of us can do." We sat there in silence, the rain turning the world outside into a watercolor blur. And I realized something. I wasn't falling for Isabel because she was different from Mia. I was falling for her because she saw me star. The real me. The one I'd been hiding for so long, I'd almost forgotten he existed. And that was everything. Mia broke up with me over text. I was at work when it happened. Mid-shift, pulling espresso shots for the afternoon rush, my hands moving on autopilot. My phone buzzed in my apron pocket. I didn't check it right away. The line was long, and my manager was already giving me looks. But during my break, I pulled it out. One message. From Mia. "Hey. I think we want different things. You're great, but I need someone more ambitious." I hope you understand. Asterisk. I stared at the screen. Read it again. And again. And again. 10 minutes passed. Maybe more. I'm not sure. Someone asked if I was okay. I said yes. Another lie. I finished my shift in a daze. Went through the motions. Smiled at customers. Made small talk. Cleaned the espresso machine. The whole time, my phone felt like it was burning a hole in my pocket. You're great, but... That was the line that kept echoing in my head. You're great, but... Not, I don't love you anymore. Not, we've grown apart. Not even, I met someone else. Just, you're not enough. I left work and walked. I didn't have a destination in mind. I just needed to move, to do something other than stand still and feel the weight of it crushing me. I ended up outside a bookstore. The same one Isabel and I had been to a few nights earlier. My hands were shaking when I texted her. Asterisk, can we talk? Asterisk. She responded immediately. Asterisk, of course. Where are you? Asterisk. 20 minutes later, I was sitting in her car outside the bookstore, rain drumming against the roof. She'd picked me up without asking questions, just driven to a quiet side street and parked. I told her everything. About the text. About the way Mia had ended 2 years with a few careless sentences. About how I felt like I'd been erased. Isabel didn't say anything at first. She just reached over and took my hand. Her fingers were warm. Steady. You deserved better than that, she said quietly. And I believed her. We sat there for a long time, not talking, just existing in the same space. The rain turned everything outside into a blurred, dreamlike version of reality. I felt hollowed out. Like someone had reached inside me and scooped out everything vital, leaving just a shell. But Isabel's hand in mine? That felt real. I don't know what to do, I said finally. You don't have to know, she said. Not right now. I spent 2 years trying to be enough for her, I said. My voice cracked. And it didn't matter. None of it mattered. It mattered, Isabel said firmly. You mattered. You matter. She just couldn't see it. I looked at her. At this woman who'd shown me more kindness in a few weeks than Mia had in 2 years. Why are you being so nice to me? I asked. She smiled. It was a sad smile. The kind that understood too much. Because someone should be, she said. And something inside me shifted. Not dramatically. Not all at once. But slowly. Quietly. Like a door opening. I'm not going to let her erase me, I said. Isabel looked at me, curious. What do you mean? I trailed off, trying to put it into words. I mean I'm not going to be the guy she laughs about at parties. The one who wasn't ambitious enough. The one who didn't matter. You're not that guy, Isabel said. I know, I said. But she doesn't. And I want her to. Isabel studied me for a long moment. Then she said, What are you thinking? I don't know yet, I admitted. But I'm tired of being small. I'm tired of letting people treat me like I'm disposable. You're not disposable, Isabel said. I know, I said again. And I'm going to make sure she knows it too. We sat there in silence, the rain slowing to a drizzle. And somewhere in that quiet, I made a decision. I wasn't going to disappear. I wasn't going to fade into the background and let Mia move on like I'd never existed. I was going to show her exactly what she'd thrown away. And Isabel? She was going to help me do it. I have an idea, I said. We were sitting in a cafe. Not the one where I worked, I couldn't stomach going back there yet. A different one. Quieter. The kind of place with chipped tiles and mismatched furniture and coffee that tasted like someone actually cared. Isabel looked at me over the rim of her cup, curious. What kind of idea? I hesitated. It sounded insane in my head. Like something out of a bad romantic comedy. The kind of plan that either worked brilliantly or blew up in your face. But I said it anyway. I want to propose to you. Isabel blinked. Set down her cup. What? Not for real, I said quickly, the words tumbling out. I mean, publicly. At Mia's engagement party. She stared at me. Mia's engagement party. Yeah. The one happening in 2 weeks. Yeah. To Chad. Yeah. Isabel leaned back in her chair, processing. You want to propose to me, fake propose to me, at your ex-girlfriend's engagement party. To prove, what, exactly? That I'm not nothing, I said. That I matter. That she didn't break me. Isabel studied me for a long moment. Her expression was unreadable. Daniel, she said slowly, that's insane. I know. Like, genuinely unhinged. I know. She bit her lip, thinking. And then, to my surprise, she smiled. Not a polite smile. Not a humoring smile. A real smile. The kind that lit up her whole face. Okay, she said. I blinked. Okay? Okay. She leaned forward, her eyes bright. But if we're doing this, we're doing it right star. We're going to make her regret every single word she said about you. And just like that, we became partners in the most ridiculous, petty, brilliant plan I'd ever had. Over the next hour, we mapped it out. Isabel was methodical. Strategic. She thought through every detail, every angle, every possible reaction. We need to build a narrative, she said, pulling out her phone and opening a notes app. People need to believe we're together. Really together. How do we do that? I asked. We start appearing in public, she said. Coffee dates. Dinners. Gallery visits. Nothing obvious. Just enough to make people wonder. Won't Mia notice? That's the point, Isabel said. We want her to notice. We want her to start asking questions. We want her to feel unsettled. I nodded slowly. Okay. What else? You need a win, she said. Something that shows you're not the same guy she dumped. Something that proves you're moving forward. Like what? Your book, she said immediately. Have you sent it to any publishers lately? I hesitated. A few. Nothing's come of it. Send it to more, she said. Send it to everyone star. And in the meantime, we post about it. We talk about it. We make it seem like something big is happening. Even if it's not? Especially if it's not, she said. Fake it till you make it, Daniel. That's how people like Mia operate. I thought about it. It felt dishonest. Manipulative. But then I remembered the way Mia had laughed at that party. The way she dismissed me with a text. And I thought, why not, ? Okay, I said. What about the proposal itself? Isabel grinned. That's the fun part. She laid it out like a heist movie. We'd wait until the toasts. Until everyone was relaxed, champagne drunk, guards down. Until Mia was riding high on attention and praise. And then I'd stand up. You'll say something simple, Isabel said. Something about how you couldn't wait any longer. How you needed to do this now in front of everyone. And then I get down on one knee. Exactly. And you say yes. Obviously. I laughed. It felt strange. Like I was waking up from a long sleep. This is crazy, I said. It is, Isabel agreed. But it's also kind of perfect. We sat there for a while, the plan settling between us like something solid. Something real. Why are you doing this? I asked finally. Isabel looked at me, her expression softening. Because Mia's my best friend, but she's wrong about you. And I'm tired of watching people underestimate you. There's more to it than that, I said. She smiled. Maybe. Isabel. Let's just focus on the plan, she said, cutting me off gently. One step at a time. I nodded. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was shifting between us. Something that had nothing to do with Mia or revenge or proving a point. Something real. We spent the rest of the afternoon talking through details. The ring. The timing. The exact words I'd say. By the time we left, it felt less like a plan and more like a promise. A promise that I wasn't going to let Mia, or anyone else, make me feel small ever again. And as Isabel walked me to the subway, her hand brushing mine, I realized something. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming myself. And maybe, just maybe, finding something I didn't even know I was looking for. We spent the next 2 weeks building a story. It felt strange at first. Like we were actors rehearsing for a play we'd never perform. But the more we did it, the more natural it became. The more real it felt. We started appearing together in public. Coffee dates at the cafe where I worked. Lunch at a small bistro downtown. A gallery opening on a rainy Saturday afternoon where we stood in front of abstract paintings and argued about what they meant. Isabel would link her arm through mine as we walked. I'd hold the door for her. We'd laugh at inside jokes that weren't really jokes, just moments we'd shared that felt too private to explain to anyone else. And people noticed. Of course they did. Mia's friends started posting about us. Subtle things at first. A photo someone took at the gallery, Isabel and me standing close, her head tilted toward mine. A comment on Instagram, wait, are they? We didn't confirm anything. We didn't deny anything. We just existed together. And let people draw their own conclusions. In between the public appearances, something else happened. My book got accepted. Not by a major publisher. Not by anyone who'd turn it into a bestseller or option it for a movie. But a small press. An independent one. The kind that cared more about the story than the marketability. They wanted to publish my novel. I was at Isabel's apartment when I got the email. We'd been working on the final draft together, her reading passages aloud, me pacing the room, both of us debating whether a certain scene worked or fell flat. My phone buzzed. I almost didn't check it. But something made me pick it up. Subject line, manuscript submission, we want to publish. I stared at the screen. Read it twice. 3 times. Daniel? Isabel said. What is it? I looked up at her, and I couldn't speak. Couldn't find the words. I just handed her the phone. She read it. Her eyes went wide. Oh my God, she whispered. And then she screamed. She screamed, loud and joyful and completely unguarded, and threw her arms around me. I held her, and for the first time in months, maybe years, I felt like I'd done something right. Like I'd proven something. Not to Mia. To myself. We celebrated that night. Nothing fancy. Just takeout and cheap wine and sitting on her couch, talking about what came next. You're going to be published, she said, grinning. A real author. It's a small press, I said, trying to downplay it. It's not a big deal. It's a huge deal, she said firmly. Don't do that. Don't make yourself small. You wrote a book, and someone wants to publish it. That's incredible. I looked at her. At this woman who believed in me when no one else did. Thank you, I said. For what? For this. For believing in me. For? I don't know. Seeing me. Isabel's expression softened. You made it easy, Daniel. Something passed between us in that moment. Something unspoken but undeniable. And I realized, this wasn't fake anymore. Not for me. A few days later, we bought the ring. We went to a small jewelry shop in the village, the kind of place with dusty display cases and a jeweler who looked like he'd been there since the 1970s. Isabel tried on a dozen rings, holding her hand up to the light, tilting it back and forth. What do you think? She asked, showing me a simple silver band with a small stone. It's perfect, I said. You didn't even look. I don't need to, I said. If you like it, it's perfect. She smiled. And there was something in that smile, something vulnerable and hopeful and terrifying. We bought the ring. And as we walked out of the shop, Isabel slipped it onto her finger, just for a second. How does it feel? I asked. She looked down at her hand, then back at me. Right, she said softly. And my heart twisted. Mia noticed. Of course she did. She started texting Isabel. Casual at first. Hey, haven't heard from you in a while. Everything okay? Then more pointed. Are you and Daniel hanging out? That's interesting. Then desperate. Is something going on? You know he's not over me, right? Isabel showed me the messages. We were sitting in her car, parked outside a bookstore. What do you want me to say? She asked. Nothing, I said. Let her wonder. Isabel hesitated. She's my best friend, Daniel. I feel like I should. She didn't care when she hurt me, I said. Why should we care now? Isabel looked at me for a long moment. Then she put her phone away. You're right, she said quietly. But I could see the guilt in her eyes. And part of me hated that I was the one putting it there. The night before the engagement party, Isabel and I met at a diner. Late. Past midnight. The kind of place where the coffee tasted like burnt rubber and the waitress looked like she'd seen everything twice. Are you sure about this? Isabel asked. Are you? I countered. She smiled. I asked first. I thought about it. About everything that had led us here. The humiliation. The breakup. The slow, unexpected connection that had grown between us. Yeah, I said. I'm sure. Even if it ruins everything? Even then. Isabel reached across the table and took my hand. Okay, she said. Then let's do it. And just like that, we were committed. To the plan. To each other. To whatever came next. The party was perfect. Too perfect. White roses everywhere. String lights draped across the ceiling like captured stars. A violinist in the corner playing something soft and romantic. Tables covered in silk, champagne flutes catching the light like liquid gold. Mia stood in the center of it all, glowing in a silver dress that hugged every curve. Her ring, massive, ostentatious, flashed every time she gestured. She looked like a princess. Like someone who'd never known what it felt like to be anything less than adored. Chad stood beside her, tall and polished in a navy suit. He looked exactly like the kind of man Mia would end up with. Successful. Confident. The kind of guy who'd never worked a day in a coffee shop. Isabel and I walked in together. I felt every eye in the room turn toward us. Conversations paused. Heads tilted. Someone whispered something I couldn't hear. Mia's smile faltered when she saw us. Just for a second. Just long enough for me to notice. Then she recovered, waving us over with that practiced, effortless grace. Isabel. Daniel. I'm so glad you came. Her voice was bright. Too bright. Wouldn't miss it, Isabel said smoothly. Mia's eyes flicked between us, searching. You two came, together. We did, I said. That's nice. Mia's smile tightened. How are you, Daniel? I haven't heard from you in a while. I've been good, I said. Really good, actually. That's great, she said, but her eyes didn't match her words. Chad stepped forward, extending a hand. I'm Chad. You're the writer, right? I am, I said, shaking his hand. Mia mentioned you, he said. Said you worked at a coffee shop. There it was. The subtle dig. The reminder. But this time, it didn't sting. I do, I said. But I also just signed a publishing deal. My novel comes out next year. Mia's face went blank. You, what? I'm getting published, I said. Small press, but it's real. That's amazing, Isabel said, squeezing my arm. Mia stared at me like she didn't recognize me. Wow, she said finally. Congratulations. But there was no warmth in it. We mingled after that. Smiled. Made small talk. Blended into the crowd. And we waited. The toast started around 9. Chad's best man went first. Some generic speech about love and commitment and how lucky Chad was. People clapped politely. Then Mia's maid of honor. A bubbly blonde who talked about how Mia had finally found her person. More applause. And then, before anyone else could stand, I did. The room went quiet. Mia looked confused. Chad looked annoyed. I turned to Isabel. I know this isn't my party, I said, my voice steady. But I couldn't wait any longer. Isabel's eyes widened, just slightly. We'd rehearsed this. But standing there, in front of everyone, it felt different. It felt real. I got down on one knee. Someone gasped. Mia's face went white. Isabel, I said, pulling out the ring, these last few weeks with you have been the happiest of my life. You see me. You believe in me. You make me want to be better. And I don't want to spend another day without you. I opened the box. The ring caught the light. Will you marry me? For a moment, the room held its breath. Isabel looked down at me, and I saw it, the flicker of something raw and unguarded in her eyes. She smiled. Tears slipped down her cheeks. Yes, she whispered. The room exploded. Applause. Cheers. People standing, clapping, shouting congratulations. I slipped the ring onto her finger and stood, and she threw her arms around me, and I held her, and everything else disappeared. Everything except Mia. I saw her out of the corner of my eye. Standing frozen in the middle of her own party. Her face pale. Her mouth slightly open. Like I'd reached inside her chest and pulled something vital out. And I felt it. Not satisfaction. Not triumph. Just closure. Mia left her own party early. I saw her slip out through the side door, her silver dress disappearing into the hallway. Her face was streaked with tears, her perfect night shattered into something unrecognizable. Part of me felt guilty. A small, quiet part that remembered loving her. That remembered the good mornings and the soft smiles and the version of her I'd fallen for before everything got complicated. But most of me felt free. Isabel and I stayed. We danced. We laughed. We fielded congratulations from people who'd ignored me at Mia's birthday party, who now wanted to know how long we'd been together, how I'd proposed, when the wedding was. And the crazy thing? It didn't feel like a lie anymore. When I held Isabel on the dance floor, her head resting against my chest, it felt real. When she looked up at me with those dark, searching eyes, it felt like something I wanted to protect. Something I didn't want to lose. We left around midnight. The party was still going, but we'd done what we came to do. And honestly, I couldn't stand to be there anymore. We sat in Isabel's car in the parking garage, the engine off, the silence heavy and electric. "Do you regret it?" Isabel asked quietly. I looked at her. At this woman who'd helped me reclaim something I didn't even know I'd lost. "No," I said. And I meant it. She nodded slowly. Then she took off the ring. Held it in her palm, staring at it like it was something precious and fragile. "What if?" she started. Then stopped. "What if what?" She looked at me. Really looked at me. "What if we didn't take it back?" My heart stopped. "Isabel. I'm serious," she said. Her voice was shaking. "I know this started as, whatever. Revenge. A plan. Something petty and ridiculous. But Daniel, I don't want to pretend anymore." I stared at her, my chest tight. "These last few weeks," she continued, "they've been the best I've had in years. And it's not because of the plan. It's not because of Mia. It's because of you. Isabel. You see me," she said, her eyes bright with tears. "The way I see you. And I don't want to lose that. I don't want this to end just because we proved a point." I reached over and took her hand. The one holding the ring. "Neither do I," I whispered. Her breath hitched. "Daniel. I mean it," I said. "I didn't plan this. I didn't plan you. But somewhere along the way, this stopped being fake. And I don't know when it happened, but I know how I feel." "How do you feel?" she asked, her voice barely audible. I looked at her. At this woman who'd believed in me when no one else did. Who'd seen me at my lowest and never looked away. "I love you," I said. The words hung in the air between us, fragile and terrifying. Isabel started crying. Not the polite, delicate tears she'd had at the proposal. Real tears. The kind that came from somewhere deep and unguarded. "I love you too," she whispered. And I kissed her. Not for show. Not for anyone watching. Just for us. The kiss was soft and desperate and full of everything we'd been holding back. When we finally pulled apart, we were both shaking. "What do we do now?" she asked. "I don't know," I admitted. "But we figure it out. Together." She smiled through her tears. Together. We sat there for a long time, holding each other in the dim light of the parking garage. And for the first time in years, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. A year later, my book hit the bestseller list. Not immediately. Not with some flashy marketing campaign or celebrity endorsement. But slowly. Steadily. Word of mouth. Reviews that called it raw and unflinching and a love letter to everyone who's ever felt invisible. Isabel cried when she saw it. We were in a bookstore, the same one where she'd first told me she loved my writing. She'd insisted we go, even though I was nervous, even though part of me still couldn't believe it was real. There it was. On the shelf. My name on the cover. She pulled it out, held it in her hands like it was something sacred. "I'm so proud of you," she whispered. And I believed her. We got married 3 months later. Not a big wedding. Not the kind Mia would have thrown, with hundreds of guests and a venue that cost more than most people's yearly salary. Just us. And the people who mattered. A small ceremony in a garden. Isabel wore a simple dress. I wore a suit I didn't hate. We wrote our own vows, messy, emotional, honest. And when I said "I do," I meant it with every part of me. Mia sent a card. It arrived a week before the wedding. Cream-colored. Expensive stationery. Asterisk, "Congratulations. I'm happy for you." Asterisk. No signature. No explanation. No apology. Just 5 words. Isabel asked if I wanted to respond. I thought about it. About all the things I could say. All the ways I could tell her what she'd lost. What she'd thrown away. But in the end, I didn't. Not because I was angry. But because I didn't need to. She was part of my past. A chapter I'd closed. Isabel was my present. My future. The woman who taught me that love isn't about being perfect. It's not about having the right job or the right apartment or the right group of friends. It's about being *seen star. Really, truly seen. I saw her. And she saw me. And that was everything. We moved into a small apartment in Brooklyn. The kind with creaky floors and windows that didn't quite close all the way. The kind that felt like our star. Isabel kept her corporate job for a while, but eventually quit to pursue photography. She'd always been good at it, she just hadn't believed in herself enough to try. I wrote. Every day. Sometimes it was good. Sometimes it wasn't. But it was mine star. And that was enough. On our first anniversary, we went back to that diner. The one where we'd sat the night before the engagement party, making our ridiculous, brilliant plan. The same waitress was there. She didn't recognize us. We ordered coffee. Terrible, burnt coffee. Isabel reached across the table and took my hand. Do you ever think about her? She asked. Sometimes, I admitted. But not the way I used to. What do you think about? I thought about it. About all the ways Mia had made me feel small. About how I'd bent myself into shapes I didn't recognize, trying to be enough for her. And about how, in the end, none of it mattered. I think about how I wouldn't be here without her, I said. Without everything that happened. Isabel nodded. Me too. Do you regret it? I asked. Everything we did? She smiled. Not even a little. We sat there, hands intertwined, coffee cooling in chipped mugs. And I realized something. This was the life I'd always wanted. Not the one Mia thought I should have. Not the one that looked good on paper. But the one that felt real star. The one where I was seen. The one where I was loved. The one where I was enough star. And that was worth more than anything.